Good evening, friends. It's Chris Angel coming at you for another episode of Marketing for the Rest of Us. Today we're talking about ghosting. You say you're interested and then you ghost me. Now, I've noticed this a lot lately because in my content, in my message to the world, this Marketing for the Rest of Us message, this message of we can be human beings, we can be heartfelt, heart-centered entrepreneurs without having to figure out the SEO thingies and the algorithm thingies. And we can actually have a message we want to lead, a conversation we want to lead in the world, right? And we can compete with others who do get all the technology of it all. We can compete because we have empathy and emotional intelligence on our side, yes? And so my message has been resonating with people. And people will say, yeah, man, I'm interested in that, or I really want to do that, or this sounds good, or let me watch your program and I'll get back to you, right? I've had people even talk to me about agency work. They're like, yeah, this is great. You're my guy. I had somebody tell me hey, you're my guy. And then they ghost me. Okay. Now this isn't uncommon. I think this is we could probably dive into the psychology of what's happening. Right? Like people say, oh yeah, this is for me. They say something like that, something they want. And then life gets busy. Maybe they start to fear that it's going to cost some money. Maybe they're not sure if they want to commit. But isn't it interesting that we use our words to sort of, and I think this probably happens in our tribe more than most, is that because we're people oriented, we want to maintain the relationship with people. So we're like, hey man, yeah, I like you. And sometimes that gets translated hey, I like your thing. I'm interested in your thing. Yeah, I want to do your thing. Yeah, you're my guy. And so people in our tribe oftentimes will give us verbal affirmations or indications even, that they want to hire us or work with us collaborate with us in some way. When in reality, that may not actually be what they meant, right? And I used to do this a ton. I probably still do it in some ways. But I'm much carefuler now in my life about giving my yes when I mean yes, right? Letting my word be my word. If I say I want to hire you, that means I'm actively in process of hiring you. I am looking at how do I find the resources to make it happen. I am earnestly moving in that direction. And maybe it's because I've had a lot of years where people would say, oh yeah, let's do it. And then they ghost me. Maybe I just am I don't want to do that to somebody. So I don't. So if I tell you yeah, let's figure it out. Let's work together. I'm actively in pursuit of how do we make this happen? So that being said, again, you can't know what's happening for them and whether they do have the money, they don't have the money, whether they really were interested or weren't interested. So what is the principle here? What's the point? Are we going to stop people from ghosting us? No. Nope, can't do that. So here's the principle. The principle is, and I used to do this all the time where I would get my hopes up for people saying, oh yeah, let's do it. I would put my eggs in that basket and then only to have it not work out. So then it was I stopped working on the front end because I was waiting for things to come to fruition on the back end. So the principle is that you must always be forging ahead. You must be always proactively finding more and more people, right? Because the conversion of those that give you a yes but actually meant no, or those that give you a yes but actually get sidetracked, okay? There is an attrition of that. So not every yes is a yes. In your marketing, not every yes is a yes. So what do? You have to keep forging ahead. You have to have a marketing method that proactively gets in front of more and more people who are warm audiences for you. People who resonate with your message. See, the people who say yes to me have resonated with my message. But there's an attrition, right? Because people are naturally going to ghost you. That's just that's how that goes, right? So you need to continue. Here's the game, guys. The game is to continually build a bigger and bigger audience so that when the attrition happens, right, 1%, if 1% actually make it through, if there's 99% attrition, 99% of people won't make it through, that means 1% do make it through. Get this, here it is. Then 1% of 100 people versus 1% of 1,000 people is a game changer. It's a game changer. 1% of 10,000 people. 100. So do you see, like, the game, if the percentage is always 1%, if the attrition, if there's a law of averages here, which I believe there is, there will always be attrition. There will always be people who say yes and then ghost you. So your game is not to just rely on everybody who says yes. Your game is to go out and keep building the audience bigger and bigger so that the 1% who get through is enough percent to meet your financial needs. That is the game. This is why, gang, that when people comment, this is why comments and likes on your posts it's fine. It feels good. And it's fine because it gives you some connection. But it's not actually the real game. Engagement with comments and likes is great. It gives you feedback on what message is resonating. But there's actually a bigger game to play that is proactively building that audience. You will only get so far with organic reach. This is back to the algorithm stuff and the SEO stuff that we don't care about. So knowing that, there is a bigger game to play, and it is all about proactively building a bigger and bigger audience so that when attrition happens, the 1% that make it through and actually hire you is enough percent to meet or exceed your financial goals. That's the game. That is the game. So now when people ghost you, it doesn't really matter, right? Because you're clear there's a bigger game happening. You're going to be proactively forging ahead regardless, whether they do or don't honor their word or whether they do or don't give their yes and mean yes. It doesn't matter to you because you have a bigger game plan. You keep going out to find the ones who you are really here to serve. The 1% who make it through. All right, that's the game of marketing, gang. And I'll give you where we start with all that, by the way. Where all of that starts is you getting very clear about your message. Because if you don't know what conversation you're leading in this world, then your attrition could be 100%. Nobody makes it through because nobody knows what the hell you're talking about or even what you're offering or how you can help them. They might think that the quote you shared was inspiring, but that doesn't mean they want to hire you. You've got to get clear about your message, and that's the first place to start. So if you are unclear, if you feel like you could be clearer, I built a course for that, right? I have a 6-week intensive program with me where we go through in a cohort of 25 others, we go through this program together to get you clear about your message, right? And it's not just like workbook exercises. Like we actually produce content in the show or in the world through your show. We create a show for you, right? And in that process, you get super dialed into what it is that you want to say with the world. And that's how people find you. Now, if that's interesting to you, the best place to start would be my free course, right? It's called Marketing for the Rest of Us, the course. It's 5 videos, just over 90 minutes. And I highly recommend that you just start there, right? Because if you start there, on the last page of that free course, you'll actually find the application button for the Groundswell Method, or for the Groundswell Method Intensive, right? But the free course is the taste test. That's the thing that actually